Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. Have you ever stopped to wonder if the biggest tech companies out there are really untouchable? Or if maybe there's some force, something powerful enough to actually rewrite the rules in their biggest legal battles? Today, we're sort of peeling back the layers on a really, really significant recent ruling. It's this major antitrust case against Google. And what makes it so fascinating, I think, is the unexpected role, the really pivotal role that artificial intelligence played in how it all turned out. We're looking at this great piece from The Economist, which talks about how both Google and Apple, pretty remarkably, seem to have dodged an antitrust bullet. And AI seems to be the main reason why.
Exactly. And our goal today isn't just to give you the headlines. We want to go beyond that. Really unpack not just what happened, but crucially, why it matters. And maybe even question some of the assumptions floating around about AI's real impact on, market competition. Is it really this independent force just shaking everything up, pushing towards a more level playing field? Or is it actually, perhaps, becoming a kind of sophisticated new tool for the tech giants that are already there? Maybe even solidifying their power in new ways? That's the big question we want to explore with you.
Okay, so let's get into this antitrust showdown then. Specifically, Google's moment here, this almost like savior moment they had. You probably remember it wasn't that long ago, Judge Amit Mehta had already said Google was an illegal monopolist. That was the finding. And back then, the expectation, it was pretty much universal, wasn't it? Everyone thought, okay, here come the really harsh remedies.
Oh, absolutely. There was a real sense the Department of Justice was ready to bring the hammer down, maybe even break up parts of Google.
Yeah, it felt like it could be a historic moment, a
Yeah.
proper reckoning for big tech.
That's right. And what's just so striking is how much that changed. Dramatically. The verdict comes down September 2nd, 2025, and Judge Mehta basically rejects the government's biggest demands, the ones calling for a breakup. Instead, he goes for what he actually called the gentlest of punishments.
Hmm.
And he was surprisingly upfront about why. He said it directly, quote, AI changed the course of this case.
Wow. Change the course.
Yeah. Not a minor factor.
Yeah.
A complete game changer, according to him.
And people have been calling this one of the biggest antitrust climb downs in decades, right?
That's the word being used, yes. A climb down. It means the government really backed off from its initial, much tougher position.
It sort of reminds you of that Microsoft case back in 2001 when they were spared a breakup too.
It does have echoes of that. The DOJ, they'd pushed for some really drastic things here, like forcing Google to sell off Chrome, its browser, and even the Android operating system.
Which would have been huge. That's fundamental to their business.
Absolutely fundamental, like asking, a car company to sell off its engine division.
Right.
But Judge Mehta, in the end, he called those demands an overreach, said they just went too far.
So what were the actual punishments then, the gentlest ones?
Well, they're much more limited. So Google is banned from making exclusive deals for distributing certain products. We're talking Chrome, Google Search, and also their new AI assistant, Gemini. But, and this is really, really important, a key detail, the judge explicitly allowed Google to keep making payments to its partners.
Ah, okay, so the exclusivity is gone, but the money can still flow. Why?
The reasoning given was to avoid causing crippling harm to other companies that apparently rely pretty heavily on those Google payments.
Right. And that leads us straight to Apple, doesn't it? Because this wasn't just good news for Google. Apple got what the article calls a big reprieve, too. And it's massive for them.
Huge. Absolutely huge.
We're talking, what, tens of billions of dollars every year just for making Google the default search engine on iPhones, iPads, everything.
Tens of billions, yeah. So making sure those payments can keep coming, that's an enormous financial win for Apple.
It really is. And it sort of keeps these two giants tied together financially, doesn't it? Which is often what antitrust aims to, untangle.
Precisely. And if you look at the market's reaction, it was instant, very positive. Alphabet's shares, that's Google's parent company, they jumped. Apple's shares went up too.
So investors were happy. Less uncertainty.
Definitely. A big sigh of relief, you could say. It removed this cloud that had been hanging over both of them, especially when other big tech stocks have been doing pretty well overall.
And there's more to it, potentially. There's talk this could even push them closer together.
Well, yeah, there's quite a bit of speculation now that this ruling might actually encourage closer ties, as you say. Specifically, people are talking about the possibility of Apple partnering with Google to actually run Google's Gemini AI products on the iPhone.
Wow, okay. So Google's AI running directly inside Apple's ecosystem.
Exactly. Imagine that level of integration. It would weave them together even more tightly. a very powerful, almost symbiotic relationship between two of the biggest players out there.
Okay, so we've got the ruling, the immediate fallout, these potential new links.
Yeah.
Let's dig into that central question now. Is AI really a market disruptor here? Is it genuinely shaking things up and promoting competition? Or is it maybe becoming a tool that helps the existing giants stay dominant? The Economist article, it frames generative AI as Google's savior, right?
Mhm.
Because it introduced these new competitive threats that justified the judge taking a lighter approach.
Right. And there is evidence presented for that disruption narrative. You can see why the judge might think that way. Look at the money pouring into AI startups, hundreds of billions of dollars. Companies like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic with Claude, Perplexity.
Things that do search-like functions, as the article puts it.
Exactly. They don't just find links. They generate answers, summarize things, write stuff. It's a different way of getting information, and it does challenge Google's traditional search model. And then there was that testimony from Eddie Q at Apple. He's a top executive there.
Oh, yeah? What did he say?
He testified during the hearings that Google search queries coming from Apple's Safari browser actually declined for the first time in 22 years.
22 years. That is significant.
It's a pretty startling data point.
Yeah.
So Judge Mehta looked at all this shifting landscape, and he basically said, look, there are strong reasons not to jolt the system and to allow market forces to do the work.
He believed AI itself would fix things, would bring the competition.
That seems to be his reasoning, yes. Let the market, powered by AI, sort it out.
Okay. But, and here's where it gets really interesting, I think. We need to maybe push back on that assumption a bit. The judge sees AI allowing market forces to work, fine. But is AI really fostering pure, wide-open competition? Is it actually leveling the playing field for everyone? Or could it be creating a different kind of dynamic, one that might actually maybe unintentionally reinforce the power of the big guys, just in new ways? It's a really crucial question, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and you have to ask that when you look at the actual remedies, which, let's be honest, many people have called meek, and especially when you consider those huge payments are still allowed to continue.
Right.
So, okay, the ruling says Google has to share some user interaction data, some search info, with smaller rivals. The idea is to help them compete. But is that really enough? I mean, think about Google's scale. Their existing data advantage is just immense. Decades of data, plus their AI capabilities are incredibly advanced already.
Can just sharing some data let smaller players genuinely catch up and challenge that? It feels like a huge asymmetry remains.
It's a massive asymmetry. And then there's the money.
Yeah, let's come back to those payments. If the idea is to let market forces do the work, how does Apple, still getting tens of billions a year from Google, fit into that? That seems like a huge distortion of market forces, doesn't it? It's basically one giant subsidizing another, creating this massive hurdle for anyone else trying to get in.
It's very difficult to reconcile, isn't it? Unleashing market forces while maintaining these colossal financial ties. It seems contradictory. And think about that potential Apple-Google AI partnership for Gemini on the iPhone. If that happens,
Yeah.
well, instead of breaking up existing power, you might just be creating a new kind of intertwined dominance, sort of AI-powered duopoly.
So not breaking up the old monopoly, but maybe creating a new shared one based on AI.
Potentially, yes. It's reshaping the power dynamic rather than fundamentally dispersing it. AI becomes the new battleground, but maybe one where the existing giants forge even stronger alliances.
Okay, so while Google got this reprieve, it's not like all their troubles are over.
No, definitely not unalloyed good news, as the article says.
They still have that appeal hanging over them, right? Against the original verdict that they are a monopolist.
That's still in play, yes. This fight isn't completely finished.
And there's another potential trial looming, too, about their advertising business.
That's right. A second antitrust case that could, potentially, force them to sell off parts of their ad tech business, which is another huge part of their revenue. So they dodged this bullet, maybe, but there are others still flying.
And looking even broader, you mentioned the techlash, that feeling a few years ago that big tech was really in the regulatory crosshairs.
Yeah, it felt like there was real momentum building for tougher regulation, both in the U.S. and Europe.
But this ruling, and the Economist article's take, suggests maybe generative AI has changed that climate, that the tech giants are getting most of the breaks now.
That seems to be the argument, that AI's disruptive potential is giving regulators pause, making them hesitant to intervene too forcefully. We even saw, interestingly, just before this ruling on September 1st, A big fine Google was expecting from the European Commission related to its ad tech practices was apparently delayed.
Oh, why was that?
Reports suggest it might be tangled up in broader negotiations between the U.S. and the EU about tariffs, which just shows you how complex these things are. It's not just about the tech, it's about geopolitics, trade, everything is interconnected.
So wrapping this up then, this case really tells a fascinating story about AI and market power.
It really does. On the one hand, you have AI being presented and seemingly accepted by the court as this powerful dynamic force that will naturally foster competition, making drastic interventions like breakups unnecessary.
The market will fix itself, essentially.
That's the argument. But it really forces us to ask a deeper question, doesn't it? Are we genuinely witnessing the market sorting itself out? Are we seeing the dawn of a new era of pure competition thanks to AI? Or are we actually just watching power shift and reshape itself, where AI becomes the next frontier for dominance, maybe even locking in new alliances between the very companies regulators were trying to separate just a short while ago?
It's a really critical distinction. Are market forces truly at work, or is it just a rearrangement of the deck chairs on the Titanic, so to speak, with AI as the new orchestra?
That's a provocative way to put it, but
Yeah.
it's something we really need to keep watching as these technologies develop. What do you think is really going on here? Is AI the great disruptor or the new tool of dominance?
Lots to think about there. Thanks for listening. Follow us for daily insights into world affairs, and don't forget to like, comment, and share.